She gave her heart to the man she trusted, until betrayal shattered everything. But the real story begins when she chooses to let go of the past and write her own future. Anna stared at the clock on the wall, its hands ticking steadily past midnight. The living room was quiet, except for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the occasional rustle of leaves against the window. She sat curled up on the couch, her phone lying face up on the coffee table, the screen dark, but ready to light up at any moment. Mark had said he'd be home by 10. Just a late meeting, he had explained, with a quick kiss on her forehead that morning. Anna had smiled, nodded, and tried not to let the little voice inside her head whisper otherwise. But now, 2 hours past that promised return, the whisper had become louder, insistent. She told herself not to jump to conclusions. Mark had always been ambitious, driven. Working late wasn't new. But lately, there had been changes, small, almost imperceptible, but enough to make her uneasy. The way he kept his phone angled away from her, the sudden need to shower as soon as he came home, the faint scent of perfume that wasn't hers clinging to his shirt. When the door finally opened, Anna's heart jumped. Mark stepped up, his tie loosened, hair slightly tousled. He looked tired, but there was something else too. Something in the way his eyes darted briefly to hers and then away, as though afraid of what he might see. "You're still up," he said, setting his briefcase down by the door. "I couldn't sleep," Anna admitted, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. "How was the meeting?" He nodded quickly, almost too quickly. "Long, draining. I'm starving though. Did you eat?" Anna shook her head. "I waited." A flicker of guilt crossed his face, gone as soon as it appeared. He smiled, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Let's grab something together then. I'll make us some pasta." As Mark moved into the kitchen, Anna watched him carefully. The man she had married still stood before her, same strong shoulders, same easy charm, but there was a distance now, a barrier she couldn't quite penetrate. And for the first time, Anna wondered if she was losing him. The next morning, Anna tried to brush off her doubts. She went through her routine, coffee, emails, errands, yet the unease lingered, threading through her every thought. Later that afternoon, while folding laundry, she noticed Mark's shirt pocket slightly bulging. Curiosity nudged her. Guilt followed, but she slipped her hand inside anyway. Her fingers closed around a small folded receipt. Her breath caught. It wasn't from a restaurant near his office, but from a downtown lounge, dated the night before. 2 glasses of wine, a plate of appetizers, dinner for 2. Anna sat frozen, the fabric slipping from her hands. Her mind raced, explanations tumbling one after another. Maybe it was with a client, maybe it was a business dinner. But Mark hadn't mentioned it, and he never forgot details like that. She placed the receipt back carefully, her heart thudding in her chest. That evening, she tried to act normal. Mark came home earlier than usual, carrying a bouquet of roses. "For you," he said with a smile, kissing her cheek. Anna forced a smile of her own, though the roses felt heavier than they should. "What's the occasion?" "Do I need one?" he teased. They had dinner together, laughing at small jokes, reminiscing about an old vacation. For a moment, it almost felt like the way things used to be. But underneath, Anna felt the cracks widening, each laugh a little too forced, each glance a little too fleeting. When Mark stepped into the shower later, Anna sat alone in the bedroom, staring at the roses on the nightstand. They were beautiful, vibrant, alive, but all she could see was the receipt in his pocket, the unanswered questions, the shadows growing in the corners of their marriage. Over the next week, Anna became more observant. She noticed how Mark kept his phone face down on the table, how he stepped into the hallway to take certain calls, how his answers to simple questions seemed rehearsed. She tried to push away her suspicions, but they clung to her like ivy on a crumbling wall. One night, unable to bear the tension, she turned to her best friend Julia. "You don't think he's—" Anna's voice faltered over the word. Julia's eyes softened. "I can't say, Anna, but you know him better than anyone. Trust your instincts." Anna bit her lip. "My instincts scare me." Julia reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "Then maybe it's time to find out the truth." That night, Anna lay awake beside Mark, listening to his steady breathing. She thought of the years they had shared, the late-night talks, the promises, the dreams they had built together. Could all of it really crumble so easily? She wanted to believe in him, in them, but deep down, she knew something had shifted. And soon, she would have to decide whether to confront it or keep pretending nothing was wrong. Anna had never thought of herself as the type of woman who would snoop. She valued honesty, trust, and respect, pillars of her marriage to Mark. But as she stood in the kitchen staring at his phone, lying unguarded on the counter while he showered upstairs, her hands trembled with the weight of temptation. She told herself she would only take a quick look, just enough to silence her doubts. Her thumb hovered above the screen. Locked. She tried his usual code, her birthday. Wrong. Their anniversary. Wrong again. A sharp sting shot through her chest. He had changed it. For years, their phones had been open books. She remembered lazy Sunday mornings, scrolling through pictures together, laughing at memes or sharing playlists. Now, that small barrier of 4 digits felt like a wall between them, high and impenetrable. Anna placed the phone back where it was, heart pounding. She could almost hear Julia's voice in her head. Trust your instincts. But instincts weren't enough. She needed proof. The next day, Anna suggested something simple over breakfast. "Let's go out Friday night," she said, buttering her toast. "Just the two of us. Dinner, maybe a movie after?" Mark glanced at his watch, not at her. "Friday's tricky. I might have to work late again. End of the quarter, you know how it is." Her knife stilled on the plate. "Maybe we could plan ahead, just one evening." He smiled apologetically, kissing her cheek. "I'll see what I can do." It wasn't a no, but it wasn't a yes either. And Anna knew better than to hold her breath. By Thursday evening, Anna made a decision she never thought she'd make. She parked her car a block away from Mark's office building. The city streets buzzed with the end-of-day rush, horns honking, people weaving between crosswalks, laughter spilling out of crowded cafes. Her hands gripped the steering wheel as she watched the entrance. She felt ridiculous, like some character in a bad movie, but she stayed. At 6:45, she saw him. Mark stepped out, suit jacket slung casually over his shoulder. But he wasn't alone. A woman walked beside him, slim, with long, dark hair that gleamed under the streetlights. She laughed at something he said, her hand brushing lightly against his arm. Anna's breath caught. They didn't notice her. They turned the corner together, heading toward the downtown lounge, the same lounge printed on that crumpled receipt. Anna's chest tightened as if the air itself had betrayed her. She wanted to leap out of the car, storm after them, demand answers, but she couldn't move. She sat frozen, watching the man she had promised her life to disappear into the night with someone else. That night, Anna barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw them together. Mark leaning in close, the woman's hand on his arm, the spark of intimacy in their smiles. By morning, exhaustion clung to her like a heavy blanket. She moved through the day in a daze, trying to hold herself together. But inside, everything was unraveling. She wanted to tell Julia, but saying it aloud would make it real. Instead, she buried herself in chores, laundry, dishes, anything to keep her hands busy, her mind distracted. When Mark came home that evening, he was cheerful, even affectionate. He kissed her on the lips, told her she looked beautiful. Anna forced a smile, tasting bitterness where there should have been warmth. Days turned into a fragile routine. Anna collected fragments of evidence without meaning to. The faint trace of unfamiliar perfume, a lipstick smudge on a collar that wasn't hers, unexplained absences. Each piece fit into a puzzle she didn't want to complete. One evening, unable to hold it in any longer, she finally confided in Julia. "I saw him," Anna whispered, her voice breaking, "with her, at that lounge." Julia's eyes widened. "Anna!" "I didn't confront him, I just watched." Tears blurred Anna's vision. "I thought maybe I was imagining it, but it's real. It has to be." Julia reached out, wrapping her arms around her. "I'm so sorry." Anna clung to her friend, the dam inside her finally cracking. "What do I do, Julia? How do I even begin?" The next morning, Anna resolved to confront him. She rehearsed the words in her head all day. "I know, Mark. I know about her. But when he came home, tired and smiling, her courage faltered. The words caught in her throat, replaced by small talk about groceries and weather. She hated herself for it. That night, as she lay awake listening to the rhythm of his breathing, she realized something. Fear had tied her tongue, but fear would not protect her. The truth was already there, gnawing at the foundation of their marriage, and no matter how painful, she had to face it. On Saturday morning, Anna asked him casually, "Where are you headed today?" "Just the office," Mark replied, tying his shoes. "Big project to finish." Anna nodded, but her pulse quickened. When he left, she followed him. She trailed his car at a safe distance, heart hammering. Instead of heading toward his office, he drove across town, parking outside a small hotel tucked between shops. Anna's stomach twisted. She watched as the same woman from the lounge appeared, slipping into his car with an easy familiarity. The world around her blurred. Laughter from the sidewalk, the buzz of traffic, all of it faded into a hollow silence. Her worst fears weren't just suspicions anymore. They were truth, undeniable and sharp as glass. Anna sat in her car, gripping the steering wheel until her knuckles turned white. This was no longer about suspicion or instinct. This was betrayal.
Anna didn't remember the drive home. Her hands guided the wheel, her eyes stared forward, but her mind was elsewhere, trapped in the image of Mark waiting outside that hotel, the other woman slipping into his car like she belonged there. When she finally stepped inside her house, the walls seemed unfamiliar, suffocating. This wasn't a home anymore. It was a stage where lies played out, where her life had been rewritten without her consent. She dropped her purse on the floor and sank into a chair. The silence pressed against her chest until she couldn't breathe. For hours, she sat there, replaying every moment of the past few months, trying to pinpoint when it had all changed. When had Mark stopped being hers? When had the laughter faded, the warmth cooled, the distance grown too wide to ignore? By the time he returned that evening, Anna's sorrow had hardened into something sharper. "Long day," Mark said, shrugging off his jacket. "Sorry I'm late." Anna's hands clenched into fists at her sides. She had promised herself she wouldn't explode, that she would stay calm, but the lie in his voice lit a fire inside her. "Mark, where were you today?" He glanced at her, surprise flickering across his face. "At work, like I told you." Her stomach twisted. "I drove by your office." His expression froze for the briefest second before he forced a laugh. "You what? Why?" "I didn't see your car," Anna continued, her voice shaking. "But I did see you. At a hotel. With her." The room went silent. Mark's face drained of color. Anna's chest heaved as she finally spoke the words she'd been carrying like poison. "How long, Mark? How long have you been lying to me?" For a moment, she thought he would deny it. His lips parted, ready to spin another story. But then he exhaled heavily, sinking into a chair as though the weight of his secrets had finally broken him. "It's not what you think," he muttered. Anna let out a bitter laugh. "Don't insult me. I saw you. You didn't even try to hide it." He rubbed his temples, avoiding her gaze. "It's been a few months. I didn't mean for it to happen." Her body went cold. A few months. While she had been planning dinners, folding his shirts, lying awake beside him, he had been giving pieces of himself to someone else. "Who is she?" Anna demanded. He hesitated. "Her name is Rachel. She's a consultant at the firm. It started after we worked late one night." Her stomach churned. "You threw away our marriage for some late-night project?" Mark finally looked at her then, eyes full of something she couldn't read. Guilt, regret, maybe even desperation. It didn't mean anything. The silence that followed was suffocating. Anna turned away, tears burning hot down her cheeks. She wanted to scream, to shatter something, to make him feel the chaos inside her. But her voice came out small, almost broken. "Was it worth it, Mark? Was she worth destroying everything we built?" He didn't answer. and that silence was answer enough. The days that followed blurred together. Their house became a battlefield of cold stares and tense silences. Mark tried to talk to her, but Anna kept her distance. She couldn't bear to look at him without seeing Rachel's shadow between them. Julia came over often, her presence a lifeline. "You don't owe him forgiveness," Julia reminded her one night as they sat curled up on the couch with tea. "You owe yourself peace, whatever that looks like." "But what if?" Anna's voice trailed off. "What if I walk away and regret it? What if I stay and regret that too?" Julia squeezed her hand. "You don't need to have the answer right now. Just give yourself time. Breathe, feel, heal." Mark, for his part, seemed desperate to fix things. One evening, he came home with flowers, the same lilies he had brought her on their first anniversary. He set them on the table with an awkward smile. "I know I've hurt you," he said softly. "I was stupid, reckless. I don't even recognize the person I became. But I want us to find our way back. Please, Anna." She stared at the flowers, their petals white and pure, mocking the mess their lives had become. "Do you still see her?" she asked. His jaw tightened. "No, I ended it." Anna's heart squeezed, torn between relief and distrust. "Do you love her?" "No," he said quickly. "It was never love. It was a mistake." But she couldn't forget the way Rachel had touched his arm, the ease in their laughter. Mistakes didn't look like that. That night, Anna lay awake again, staring at the ceiling. She realized something that both terrified and freed her. Whether Mark told the truth or not, whether he begged for forgiveness or swore it was over, she could never unsee what she had seen, never unhear his confession, never unknow the betrayal. The foundation of their marriage had cracked, and no amount of flowers or apologies could glue it back together. For the first time, Anna allowed herself to imagine a future without him. A future where she wasn't defined by his lies. A future where she could rebuild herself from the wreckage. And though the thought scared her, it also lit a small flame of hope inside her. Because maybe, just maybe, walking away wasn't the end. Maybe it was the beginning.
The morning sun spilled across the kitchen, casting long streaks of gold on the tiled floor. Anna stood by the counter, her coffee untouched, watching dust motes swirl in the air. Everything around her looked the same. Mugs in the cupboard, the photo of her and Mark on their wedding day smiling from the fridge, but none of it felt the same. The woman in that photograph had been naive, full of trust. She had no idea what lay ahead. Anna almost wanted to reach into the picture and warn her, "Don't give him everything, save some pieces for yourself." Mark entered the kitchen, his tie half knotted, his expression tentative. "Morning?" Anna nodded, her lips pressed tight. He lingered, as though hoping she'd break the silence, but she didn't. Finally, he sighed, "Anna, please, can we talk? Really talk?" She set her mug down. "About what? About Rachel? About how you destroyed us?" Mark flinched at the name. "I told you it's over. I cut ties. I'm trying to fix this." "Fix?" Anna's laugh was sharp. "You can't just glue back shattered glass and pretend it's whole. That's what we are now, shattered." Later that day, Anna found herself at Julia's apartment again. "I don't know what to do," she confessed, her voice cracking. "One moment, I want to pack my bags and never look back. The next, I wonder if I'm strong enough to start over." Julia handed her a tissue. "You are strong enough, but don't rush. Clarity comes when you stop trying to force it." Anna dabbed at her eyes. "He keeps saying he wants to fix it, but I don't know if I can forgive him. Every time he looks at me, I just see her." Julia leaned forward. "Forgiveness isn't about him, Anna. It's about you. You can forgive and still walk away. You can refuse to forgive and still stay. But you get to choose, not him." Those words settled in Anna's chest, heavy and true. That weekend, Mark surprised her with an idea. "I booked us a cabin," he said, standing in the doorway with a hopeful smile. "Just 2 days, out in the woods, away from everything. Maybe..." maybe we can talk without all the noise." Anna's instinct was to refuse, but something in her hesitated. Maybe a change of scenery could give her clarity. "Fine," she agreed quietly.
The cabin was tucked between tall pines, with a wraparound porch and the faint smell of wood smoke lingering in the air. On the surface, it was perfect. Peaceful, secluded, almost romantic. But beneath the stillness, Anna felt the weight of all they weren't saying. That evening, Mark built a fire. They sat across from each other, the flames crackling between them. "I know I've hurt you more than I can ever repair," he began, his voice low. "But Anna, I love you. I've loved you since the day I met you. Rachel was a mistake, a terrible mistake, and I'll spend the rest of my life proving that to you, if you'll let me." Tears stung Anna's eyes, but she shook her head. "You don't understand. It's not just about love. It's about trust. And once that's gone, I don't know if it ever comes back." Mark leaned forward, desperation etched into his face. "Then let me earn it back. Give me time. Give us time." That night, Anna lay awake, listening to the soft rustle of trees outside. Mark's words echoed in her mind, colliding with her own doubts. Part of her longed to believe him, to cling to the life they had built. But another part whispered that staying would mean betraying herself. As the fire died down to embers, Anna finally admitted the truth she had been avoiding. She couldn't go back. Even if she stayed, even if Mark swore Rachel was gone, the betrayal would always sit between them like an invisible wall. Every smile, every touch, every kiss would carry the weight of doubt. She deserved more than that. The next morning, Anna woke early. She stepped outside onto the porch, breathing in the crisp mountain air. For the first time in weeks, she felt a strange calm settle over her. When Mark joined her with 2 mugs of coffee, she met his eyes squarely. "Mark," she said softly, "I can't do this anymore." He froze. "What do you mean?" "I can't pretend we're okay. I can't keep living in the shadow of what you did. I'll never be able to trust you again. Not the way I did before." His face crumpled. "Anna, please, don't say that. We can get through this. People survive worse." She shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Maybe some people do, but I can't. Because surviving isn't living, Mark, and I need to live again." The drive home was silent. When they pulled into the driveway, Anna gathered her things, her movements deliberate, steady. Mark stood in the doorway watching her, his eyes wet with unshed tears. "Is this really it?" he whispered. Anna paused, her suitcase in hand. She looked back at the man she had once trusted with her whole heart, the man who had shattered it in ways he could never undo. "Yes," she said softly. "This is it." And with that, she walked out the door. The following weeks were a blur of paperwork, conversations with lawyers, and long nights filled with doubt. But with each passing day, Anna felt lighter, freer. Julia stood by her side, reminding her of her strength. And slowly, Anna began to rebuild. She started painting again, filling her apartment with color and life. She joined a book club, met new people, rediscovered parts of herself she had lost in the fog of marriage. There were nights she cried, missing the life she had thought she had. But there were also mornings she woke up smiling, realizing she had a second chance. One evening, months later, Anna stood in front of a canvas, brush in hand, the smell of acrylics filling the room. She paused, taking in the vibrant blues and golds that bloomed across the canvas. For the first time in a long time, she felt whole. Her phone buzzed with a message from Julia. "Proud of you. Dinner tomorrow?" Anna smiled, setting the brush aside. She wasn't defined by Mark's betrayal anymore. She was defined by her strength. And though her vows had been shattered, she was building something new. Something just for herself. The first weeks after leaving Mark were like walking through a storm. Every corner of Anna's life seemed soaked in reminders of him. The sweater left in her drawer, the empty side of the bed, the quiet dinners alone at a table that once echoed with laughter. Some nights, the loneliness was unbearable. She would curl on the couch, clutching a pillow, wondering if she had made a terrible mistake. But then she would remember the hotel, the lies, the way her trust had crumbled beneath his feet, and she knew she had chosen the only path left to her. Julia became her anchor. They met for coffee almost every morning, Julia insisting on filling Anna's days with chatter and warmth. "You're doing better than you think," Julia said one afternoon as they sat in the park, watching children play. Anna shook her head. "Some days I feel like I'm drowning. That's healing. It's messy, it hurts, but it means you're moving forward. At night, Anna painted. The canvases piled up against the walls of her small apartment, bursts of color that reflected her chaos, her grief, and, slowly, her hope. One evening, she attended an art class at the community center, encouraged by Julia. She sat among strangers, her brush trembling at first, then steadying as the room filled with quiet concentration. It was there she met Daniel. He was tall, with kind eyes and paint-smeared hands that spoke of years spent in creative pursuit. They sat at the same table, exchanging awkward smiles as they worked. "That's beautiful," he said, nodding toward her canvas. Anna felt heat rise in her cheeks. "It's just messy emotions on canvas." "Messy emotions usually make the best art," he replied. She laughed softly, the first genuine laugh she'd felt in weeks. Over the next few classes, they grew comfortable with each other. Daniel shared stories about his travels, his work as a freelance designer, his love for late-night walks by the river. Anna found herself looking forward to their conversations, the way his eyes lit up when he spoke, the way he listened without judgment. Still, a wall stood between them. Whenever he leaned closer, whenever she caught herself smiling too much, she felt the ghost of Mark hovering over her shoulder. One evening after class, Daniel offered to walk her home. They strolled along the quiet streets, the glow of street lamps casting soft halos around them. "Can I ask you something?" he said gently. "Sure." "Why do you look sad sometimes, even when you're smiling?" Anna hesitated, the words heavy on her tongue. Finally, she whispered, "Because I'm still learning how to start over." Daniel nodded, not pressing further. "Then let me be part of the start, if you'll let me." Her heart skipped, both terrified and hopeful.
Meanwhile, Mark wasn't gone from her life entirely. He called, sent texts, even left flowers at her door. She ignored most of it, though sometimes the weight of his presence crept in. One evening, he showed up unannounced, standing in the hallway outside her apartment. "Anna, please," he pleaded, his voice raw. "Just hear me out." She crossed her arms. "Why are you here, Mark?" "I can't stop thinking about you, about us. I know I screwed up, but I can't let go. Please, come home." Her throat tightened. Part of her wanted to slam the door, but another part, the part that still remembered the good years, hesitated. "Home?" she whispered. "You broke that, Mark. You broke me." "I can fix it. Therapy, counseling, whatever it takes. Just don't give up on us." Tears welled in her eyes, but she shook her head firmly. "It's not about giving up. It's about saving myself." And she closed the door. The encounter left Anna shaken. She spent the night staring at her ceiling, wondering if she had been too harsh, if maybe forgiveness could have been possible. But the next morning, when she opened her blinds and saw the sunlight pouring in, she remembered the calm she had felt the day she walked away. That was real. That was hers. And she wasn't going back. Weeks turned into months. Anna continued painting, filling her world with color. She and Daniel grew closer, though she took it slow, cautious not to lose herself again. One evening, as they sat by the river, Daniel turned to her. "You don't have to answer now, but I want you to know I care about you. Not your past, not your pain, just you." Anna's eyes filled with tears. She reached for his hand, and for the first time, she didn't pull away. That night, she stood before her newest painting. It was different from the others, not chaotic, not broken. Instead, it was full of light, streaks of gold breaking through deep blues, a sunrise after a storm. Anna smiled, her heart steady. For the first time since everything fell apart, she felt like the woman holding the brush wasn't just surviving, she was living. Spring arrived with the soft scent of blossoms drifting through the city air. For Anna, it felt symbolic. Winter had been long and heavy, a season of endings, but now the world seemed to whisper of renewal. She carried her paintings to a small gallery downtown, her heart pounding with both fear and pride. The owner, a kind woman named Elise, had seen Anna's work at the community center and offered her a spot in a local exhibit. As Anna arranged her canvases, bursts of color, light breaking through darkness, she realized they were more than art. They were her story, painted piece by piece, stroke by stroke. The night of the exhibit, Julia stood beside her, beaming. "Look at you," she said, squeezing Anna's hand. "Your work, your story. It's powerful. People are going to feel this. Anna smiled, nervous but grateful. She hadn't invited Mark, of course, but part of her knew he would come. He always seemed to find a way back into her orbit. And she was right. Halfway through the evening, she turned to find him standing in the corner, hands shoved into his pockets, eyes fixed on a canvas titled Breaking Free. Her chest tightened. For a moment, she was that broken woman again, sitting in her kitchen with suspicion eating her alive. But then Daniel stepped up beside her, his presence grounding, warm. She drew in a breath and walked over to Mark. He looked older somehow, wearier. His eyes lifted to hers, filled with regret. "You painted this?" he asked, nodding at the canvas. "Yes," Anna said evenly. "Every piece here is mine." He swallowed hard. "They're beautiful. Painful, but beautiful." Anna studied him. "Why are you here, Mark?" "I had to see you. To see how you're doing." His voice cracked. "I still think about us, about what I lost, every day." Her throat tightened, but she kept her composure. "You didn't just lose me, Mark. You lost the version of me who trusted you completely, and she's not coming back." He lowered his gaze. "I know. I don't expect forgiveness anymore. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Truly sorry." For the first time, Anna believed him. And yet, it didn't change the truth. "I accept your apology," she said softly. "But it doesn't mean we can go back. I've found something different now, something better, a life where I'm not defined by betrayal." His eyes flicked briefly to Daniel, who was watching respectfully from across the room. Mark nodded, his shoulders sagging. "Then I'll let you go," he whispered. "I hope you're happy, Anna. You deserve it." She gave him a small, genuine smile. "I will be." And with that, Mark turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Later that evening, Anna stood outside the gallery with Daniel. The night was cool, the city lights shimmering in the distance. "You okay?" he asked gently. She nodded. "For the first time in a long time, yes." He smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I'm glad." They walked together in silence for a while, their hands brushing, then intertwining. Anna felt a peace she hadn't thought possible months ago. It wasn't about Daniel, not really. It was about her, about choosing herself, her freedom, her future. But having him beside her was a gift she wouldn't take for granted. That night, back in her apartment, Anna stood before her newest blank canvas. The smell of paint lingered in the air, familiar and comforting. She dipped her brush into bright yellow, then bold red, then soothing blue. With steady hands, she began to paint. Not the chaos of pain, not the fragments of betrayal, but something new. A sunrise. A beginning. Months later, her apartment walls were lined with color. She had sold a few pieces, taught a few workshops, and begun to see herself not as a victim of betrayal, but as an artist, a woman, a survivor. One evening, Julia asked her, "Do you ever think about him anymore?" Anna paused, considering. "Sometimes, but not with anger, not with sadness either. Just as a chapter in a book I've already finished." Julia smiled. "And the next chapter?" Anna's gaze drifted toward Daniel, who was watching with friends across the room. Anna smiled. "The next chapter," she said, "is mine to write." And for the first time in her life, she felt free, truly free.